What's going on YouTube? So in the world of large and in-charge SUVs, the GMC Yukon has long been a top choice. And that's why it's a big deal when they make changes to it.
So that's why we chiseled out this refreshed Yukon in between two winter storms today.
So let's go ahead and get into all of those updates. So kicking things off here with our spec dump, we continue to have three different powertrains, including an updated diesel, but we have the 5.3 liter naturally aspirated V8 with 355 horsepower. It's going to be routed to a 10-speed automatic transmission, and our combined fuel economy is 17 mpg.
Now, the base price on this Yukon is $66,000, and if you're looking to buy one, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes to secure the best price. Now, of course, we'll also be taking this out on a spin later on to show you what it's like behind the wheel. While we're on that drive, we'll be getting things like our signature sound level reading.
But you know what we got to do? We got to close up the hood because they've done a lot to the exterior design and especially the interior. Now, like I just said, they did make some changes to the overall exterior design, and you'll notice that up here in your fascia. It's really just going to be a slight revision throughout all of the trim levels. So there continues to be a lot of different selections that you can make. Each one has its own character. This elevation is more of a simple look to it. You also have the really blingy Denali and Denali Ultimate, as well as the off-road capable AT4 and AT4 Ultimate. And by the way, we do have studio walkarounds of those models if you want to check those out as well. But as you can see, just a nice look to this. The biggest change up here in the front, though, is actually with our headlights. So you'll notice that they've got a new shape. Up at the top here, we've got our daytime running light and turn signal indicator that goes across, and then down below. You'll also notice that it does have an animation, and that's standard on all versions, even the base model. This is a stacked crystal LED finish, plus we have LED fog lamps down below as well. And then as we walk around to the rear, you're gonna notice just a little bit of refinement to the overall design.
Yeah, and I didn't think it needed a big design change, and I think what they've done has really improved the overall aesthetic. So let's go ahead and break down those individual elements. So we have a wiper up here underneath of the integrated spoiler, and then really the main element that has changed for this refresh is the taillight area. This is going to have a new shape to it, and the lighting elements are also updated. So as you can see, we do have the really cool animating ability, and they're going to be a full LED setup standard on every single trim level this year. We also have some chrome in the middle, and as we drop down to the lower fascia, do be aware that this base elevation model is going to be the only one that does not get exposed exhaust outlets. You can get quad exposed exhaust outlets on the higher end models, and your tow rating is 8,400 pounds as a maximum.
Now moving on to the wheels, you're going to have a lot of different choices ranging from 20-inch alloys on the lower end all the way up to 24-inch alloys. That is a new thing for 2025, having the option of 24s, but you will need to get one of the Denali trim levels if you want that. On today's example, we have an available 22-inch alloy wheel, again with kind of a simple multi-spoke design and a little bit of a blingier finish. Now, we did chisel this vehicle out. Mason said that in the intro. Literally, we chiseled this out. We had an ice storm here a couple days ago, so I do apologize. There's a little bit of kind of salt down here on the side, but we're trying to get you this as soon as possible. So anyways, let's get back to the mirrors here. Taking a look at these, this is one of the things that reminds you elevation is not really a base trim because these are actually fully loaded. So you have auto dimming on the driver's side, power folding, heating, and blind spot monitoring.
Now at this side, you're not going to see a ton of design changes, which means that your overall vehicle length remains at about 210 inches long for the standard wheelbase version. They do continue to offer the Yukon XL, which extends things out to 225 inches to give you more cargo space and third row room. We'll talk about that a little bit more later on. We have a lot of chrome elements here on this elevation, and when it comes to your safety systems, I'm really happy to tell you that for this refresh 2025 Yukon, you're getting all of those as standard equipment, including adaptive cruise control. Now, the only thing worth pointing out is that Super Cruise is offered. It's actually standard on the Ultimate grade trims, and it's available on lower models for 3 years. But guys, let's go ahead and check out that completely new interior. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then we've reviewed over 2,000 cars at every price point.
No matter what you're looking for, from sound level readings to cargo measurements, we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the latest cars. Now let's move on to the interior. First, here's our key fob. It's your typical GMC key fob. You do have smart entry as well as remote start as standard equipment. And getting inside, there's no sensor behind the handle, so you're just going to press that silver button there to unlock the door. Now, taking a look at the inside, you're going to notice that unlike the exterior, which is kind of some mild tweaks, they really did a lot more substantial work to the interior of this vehicle. But before we get into all the specific details, let's first talk about our seats. So this, as we mentioned, is the Elevation, which is the new base trim, and this actually comes with something called Cortex. It's a leatherette. That being said, it's actually very realistic feeling. I don't think I would have noticed this was a leatherette if they hadn't pointed it out. And of course, it does have a nice look to it as well with several different color choices. All the rest of the trims, though, come with real leather or the high-end full-grain leather if you choose one of the ultimate trim levels. As far as seat adjustments, you have 8 ways as standard equipment. You add 4-way lumbar support on most of the other trims, and then you get massaging as well on the ultimate trims. Let's go ahead and climb inside. Now, getting inside is not too difficult, even though it's a pretty tall SUV, because you do have standard running boards and power deploying running boards on your upper end examples. But now that we're fully inside, I think it's time for us to look at the overall interior material quality. So, beginning out over here on our door trim, we have full leatherette through here as well as all across the upper part. We have, looks to be a faux carbon fiber running through there. As we move to the upper dash, all of this is finished in leatherette. We have nice stitching details kind of running throughout and across there. More of that trim through there. More padded materials down along the console. Everything in here feels really solid, feels high quality as well. And again, this is the base trim level of this Yukon. You get even more special bougie touches if you choose like the Denali Ultimate. Let's go ahead and fire it up with our push button start. And now that it's all fired up, a good place to start out with would be right here at our gauge cluster. So this is actually new for 2025. Previously, some of the models had a mostly analog setup. Now all models get this 11-inch digital gauge cluster. And just like some of your other General Motors products, you can simply cycle through on the steering wheel a lot of different displays, including that full screen map, which I think looks very nice. Additionally, you will get a head-up display on your top trim levels. As you pull back to the steering wheel, we've got the newest GMC design, nice and chunky look to this. We have steering wheel heating. It's manual tilt and telescoping on this model, starting at the AT4 trim levels where you get power, tilt, and telescoping abilities. But of course, you buy a big SUV like this because you want to have plenty of storage, and this Yukon has you covered. So when I pop open our center console here, you're going to notice that we've got a lot of donuts inside. That's because here at Car Confections, that is our logo, and we have 17 donuts inside, so that far exceeds our dozen donut test, and we actually have some more storage that you can't even see right now, because if I press that button up there, the whole console slides back, and we've got the top secret compartment for all the things you want to hide from your kids. So your special donuts you can stick in there, and they won't find them. Now up there, we've got our 2 cup holders. You have a nice wireless phone charging pad in that rubber-lined bin and a couple USB connections. Furthermore, there's even a storage cubby up here above our infotainment system. That's because none of the space is used for the shifter. It's up here on the column. It's the electronic style. Just pull down for drive, bump up for reverse. When you go into reverse, every Yukon will get this 360-degree camera system. So as you can see, you've got the nice crisp resolution on board. It is improved over last year. You also have some different views you can choose between. and you can just kind of toggle on and off different looks, including lining up your trailers. Just press the end there for park. But now we have to go ahead and address this giant display, because this is really where most of the rest of this interior component is going to be located. So this is a 16.8 inch display. As you can see, it's a tablet style orientation here, which is totally new for 2025 and much larger than what you had before. Down in the lower section, this is going to be devoted to your climate controls. 3-zone automatic climate is standard. It looks like you have to touch it, but actually you have physical controls underneath of each of these buttons here to make your adjustments, so it's very easy to use overall. Right here we have our 3-stage heated seats. These are standard on all models, and then all but the base trim comes standard with seat ventilation as well. Embedded inside the display itself, you're going to find a volume knob. So this volume knob is going to control either a 10-speaker Bose sound system all the way up to an available 22-inch sound system. So let's go ahead and give the standard sound system a sample. Yeah, overall sound quality of this system is quite nice. Like I said, it is still a branded sound system at the end of the day, even on the standard end. Okay, now let's dig into the infotainment software itself. So right now you can see that I have pulled up Android Auto. It's kind of just floating in this panel. That's how that would populate in, and your background will kind of show up back there. If I hit that home button here, we'll go into the main display. As you can see, you've got all your different functions. The big thing about this system is that it has Google Apps built into it. So you have native Google Maps, you have Google Assistant, things like that. Here's what the native Google Maps looks like. Really looks absolutely beautiful on this giant display. And as you can see, super nice and responsive as well. This is a really easy to use system. So you can engage with it like this, or use wireless Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. Up top here, we've got an auto dimming mirror. You can integrate HomeLink remotes inside of the display. And then up at the top, you'll notice we do not have a sunroof. This is going to be an available option across many of the models in the lineup.
Now, one area that the Yukon has always been really strong is in this rear area. There is a ton of space and also a lot of luxury features. That's not going to change this year, and actually it's going to get quite a bit better. Now, the space, as you would expect, is going to remain the same. So we're looking at 42 inches of legroom and about 38 inches of headroom. That is a very good figure for this full-size SUV segment. This is Drew's 5'8" driving position, and I'm 5'9" for reference. And look at that, we're looking at about 10.5 inches of additional knee room, and my feet can slide up underneath of the seat. Now, speaking of the seats, we do have the ability to slide forward and back, and we also have a really good reclining ability as well to maximize comfort. Now, as you can see, we also have the captain's chair arrangement on today's example, so that does mean that overall seating capacity for this model will be 7 passengers. Now, as far as the features are concerned, we do have 2 cup holders up here at the top. We're also going to have our own zone of climate here in the second row. Down below that, you'll find 3-stage heated rear seats, and that's actually standard on every single Yukon. That's a really nice feature to see standard equipment. Additionally, 2 USB-C ports and even a household-style outlet. Now, if you really want all of the bougie features, GMC does have you taken care of this year because they are now offering an executive rear seating package. Like Drew said, we have actually reviewed that in a walk-around on the channel, so if you want to go watch that video, we have been in the vehicle. That will actually give you ventilated back seats as well as massage here in the back, so a lot of really fancy features going on. Now, as far as the door trim is concerned, no rear window sunshades, but it is going to be made of really nice materials. We have leatherette all through the center section, the top part, as well as a ton of door storage down at the bottom. As a matter of fact, the door storage is big enough that it can fit an entire Stanley water bottle. This is a really, really big bottle, and it can fit in there, no problems whatsoever. Now let's go ahead and check out the third row. So in order to fold the captain's chair setup, and by the way, if you do want bench seating, that is actually standard on the lower end of the Yukon lineup, and you can get it as an available option if you want that extra seating capacity. Now, in order to fold the captain's chair though, you just pull that once. Once more is actually going to release it out of the way. Just be aware that you would have to remove a child seat in order to fold it in this way. Now, let's go ahead and hop back here and see how much space we're going to have. Now, that's always been another strong element of the Yukon that's going to continue this year. We're sitting at about 35 inches of legroom and about 36 inches of headroom. Really good space figures here in the standard wheelbase version. Now, if you choose the XL, that's going to be expanded out even further to about 36.7 inches of legroom here in the third row. So really, really nice stuff. And keep in mind that this seat is slid all the way back in its tracks. So if you have someone sitting back here in the third row, you can actually slide this forward a little bit more. Now, as far as how much extra knee room I have, that's going to be about an inch, and I'm 5'9", remember. Now, the thigh support is also really good. My feet can slide up underneath of the seat, and do be aware that there are 3 seats back here in the third row, just no headrest here in the middle for whatever reason. Now, as far as features are concerned, we do have a cup holder right here, a little storage cubby, a USB port, and we're going to have vents that come out of the ceiling. Overall, how this rates on our third row rating scale, I'm going to say this is fit for adults. And let's see how much cargo space you have in this Yukon. Now, there's a couple things I want to mention. First of all, the rear glass does continue to pop independently, so you can open that if you don't want to open the full tailgate up. As far as the tailgate itself, it is a power tailgate, standard on all models. If you want the new auto sensibility, which is the hands-free function as you walk up to the vehicle, that's going to be standard on AT4 and above. Now, let's talk about how much space you're going to find. About 25.5 cubic feet behind the third row of seats in this standard wheelbase version. If we fold those seats down, which we can do easily over here on this side, because a power folding third row is actually standard equipment on this model. You can easily just do it like that. That's going to reveal about 73 cubic feet, and as a maximum, about 120 cubic feet is what you're going to be looking at. Now, let's say you really need the space. Well, you can get the Yukon XL, which will expand your maximum cargo capacity up to a whopping 145 cubic feet. So at that point, if you can't fit it in your SUV, you probably just need to go ahead and get a semi-truck. Now, as far as other things, we do have a household outlet on the right side by the buttons to fold the second and third rows. And it's a Car Confections review after all, so let's go ahead and get our cargo length, width, and height figures. Now, as far as our overall cargo length from behind Drew's 5'8" driving position, we are looking at a very nice 90 inches of length. From behind the second row of seats, with them slid all the way back, about 53 inches long. From behind the third row, 19 inches of length. As far as overall width, one of the most impressive widths that you can get, 49 inches wide. And overall height comes in also very impressive at 33 inches tall. Underneath the floor, there's just a tiny bit of additional space, and you do also have a full-size spare tire integrated underneath of the bumper. Here we are behind the wheel of the refreshed Yukon. In this drive, we're going to be discussing quite a few different things, as you can see on the screen right now. But first of all, we're going to go ahead and start with a hard acceleration.
So that was a nice acceleration, up to about 60 miles per hour. So of course, one of the signature things about the Yukon is just having that nice General Motors V8 engine. So thankfully, they actually have not downsized the engines or anything like that. For 2025, you still get a standard 5.3 liter V8. You have the available 6.2 liter V8 as well. This one here makes 355 horsepower, 383 pound-feet of torque, the same as always. The 6.2 liter makes 420 horsepower, 460 pound-feet of torque. Now, let's talk, though, a little bit about that updated turbo diesel inline six-cylinder. So it does have more power and torque for 2025.
Yeah, 305 horsepower, which is up 28 over before, and 495 pound-feet of torque, which is up 35 pound-feet of torque as compared to before. And one of the things I do want to point out is, especially if you're looking at a higher-end Yukon, is that you can no longer get the diesel with the Escalade. So if you're wanting a luxurious big truck like this with the diesel, you no longer have the Escalade to fall back on, so you will have to pretty much choose this Yukon. And I do want to mention trim level availability as well. That diesel is available on every single trim of the Yukon lineup, so that's certainly very nice. And if you're curious about which engine is standard where, well, this 5.3 liter is standard on the Elevation and AT4 trims, and then on your higher end models, Denali and Denali Ultimate and AT4 Ultimate, those are going to have the standard 6.2 liter V8. But I have to say, I really love that they have kept with the V8. It does have that classic, truck feel, especially when you accelerate there. You can just hear it. It sounds really good.
Right. We spent a lot of time with competition recently. You could include the QX80, the new Nissan Armada. Both of those are competitors with twin-turbo V6s. Of course, the Ford Expedition has long had a twin-turbo V6. As well as the Sequoia. So you really have not that many choices now if you want that classic V8, and I'm glad GM stuck with it. As far as, power with this version, this is totally adequate. The 6.2 liters is a little extra icing on the cake, right? Yeah. It is faster, of course, but this one here is perfectly adequate, even for an SUV of this size. Now, as far as the other aspect of the powertrain, we've got a 10-speed automatic transmission. General Motors has been using this across a lot of their truck vehicles for a long time, and it's a very nice and smooth transmission.
Yep. Now, as far as how it's routed to the ground, you do have standard two-wheel drive on the vast majority of trim levels. On some of the very high-end models, you do get four-wheel drive as standard equipment. Otherwise, it's about a $3,000 option. Now, as far as fuel economy is concerned, you're going to be sitting at 17 miles per gallon combined for this 5.3-liter four-wheel drive. If you choose the XL, that does reduce it down to about 16 miles per gallon. The 6.2 liter is actually also rated at 17 mpg, so that shouldn't be much of a consideration when it comes to which engine you want to select, because they do get the same fuel economy. Now, the diesel, that will be your best efficiency of the bunch. We are estimating that to be about 24 mpg combined. But now that we have cleared out of traffic, let's go ahead and talk about ride quality for this Yukon. Now, that has always been a strong element for this product, and I actually have quite a bit to talk about. Now, if you choose an AT4 and above, so that actually does mean that this model doesn't have it, that will get you your magnetic ride control. Also, this year, if you choose an Ultimate grade, so AT4 Ultimate or a Denali Ultimate, that will get you a standard air suspension as well. So we actually have none of those things. So how does this base model ride? Well, I have to say, I've been very impressed with it. We have the 22-inch alloy wheels on the outside, and when you hit a bump in the road, it does a good job of soaking it up and not really letting too much intrusion inside of the cabin. So overall, I don't really think you need those systems to have good ride quality. Now, the only thing I will say is that now that they are offering the 24-inch alloy wheels on those higher-end models, I do think that you probably would need an air suspension and those magnetic ride control dampers to make sure that it compensates for those really big wheels. Gotta love the V8. All right, so we have our rear climate off, and we have it on fan speed 1, so we can get a sound level reading in this refreshed Yukon. 58.5 decibels is what we have settled in at for this Yukon. We don't have to sit here and guess how it compares to the competition, though. We can go to carconfections.com/sound level readings. And on our website, we posted all of the full-size SUVs that this competes with, and we can see how it compares. Now, that does mean that we are going to be a little bit on the louder end of the side for this full-size segment. Do keep in mind, though, we are in the base elevation trim level, and I'm sure GMC does a few special elements for those higher-end trim levels as well to make sure that it has the quietest possible cabin.
And there's also water on the road as well.
Now it's also time for us to get into our Car Confections Slam Dunk and Airball, which is our favorite and least favorite element about the refreshed Yukon. Drew, why don't you kick us off with the Slam Dunk?
So obviously there's a lot of improvements for the 2025 Yukon, and all of those things are slam dunks in a way. But what actually struck us was the fact that here we are in the Elevation trim, a trim we've never got to experience before, just how much you get as standard equipment. So they've really given you a lot of the features that you're going to be looking for standard here on the Elevation.
Yeah.
And it to the point where there's going to be a lot of people who really don't need to upgrade to any of those other trims.
Yeah, that is very true. Now, on the flip side of that, our airball this year is going to be the pricing for those upper end trim levels. The Denali Ultimate starts at over $100,000, and that's without some of the options as well. So you are looking at a very expensive price point, a Yukon that really costs what Escalades used to just a few years ago. So do be aware, pricing has risen. As you would expect, a Tahoe is about $95 fully loaded, so I'm not exactly surprised, but do be aware that those highest end models will cost you a lot. And let's talk about pricing. So, as I said at the very beginning of this video, we started around $66,000 for this Elevation two-wheel drive model. Now, as you move up the trim structure, of course, the price does inflate quite a lot. You end in the Denali Ultimate, which is four-wheel drive exclusive and starts at $101,300. Now, we definitely have a more modestly equipped Yukon. So this is what most people will probably end up with. We have four-wheel drive, so $69,900. We also have just a few options, including very expensive wheels, 1995 destination. All told, we're sitting at $77,000 as tested today. Also, when it comes to your warranty, if you're looking to buy one, you have a 3-year 36,000-mile basic warranty, 5-year 60,000-mile powertrain, and you're also going to get your first service visit covered by GMC. Now, if you're looking to buy one of these vehicles, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. Now, the reason you do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealership negotiation and can help the dealers to start to compete on pricing. Additionally, we even have a monthly payment tool if you're interested in using that. A link to that is provided in our video description, and we also have a pinned comment at the top of this video. But buying a vehicle is about more than just the original MSRP, so let's dive into resale and reliability. So let's start by talking about resale value. As an economics graduate myself, Drew and I took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this GMC Yukon's potential resale value. We estimate after 5 years and 60,000 miles, it'll be worth 55.8% of original MSRP, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 21.6%. Now, it's worth noting that's actually a very good resale value by percentage. It's actually within about the top 5 or 6 best brands for resale value. That's certainly good, especially out of a little bit of a more luxurious offering like this, because typically the luxury offerings will have lower resale value percentages.
Now, we've also done the same for reliability by developing the Combined Reliability Index. This takes into account several studies from trustworthy sources and combines them in a way that gives you a more holistic picture. In this regard, GMC is well above the overall industry average for all vehicle makes.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our resale values and reliability data, as well as our methodology, be sure to go to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a new vehicle is a big decision, so you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase, especially if you're cross-shopping between different vehicle brands. And guys, that's going to be it for our very wintry review of the 2025 refreshed GMC Yukon Elevation. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, which we hope you did, that was really the point of us coming out here to get one of the first reviews in person of this Yukon. We'd appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you're going to get the latest car reviews such as this, and you're also going to be a part of our Car Confections family. I promise you won't want to miss out. If you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.